Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. Now, you might see that behind me is looking a little bit sparse. That's actually because I'm in the process of moving into a new home, but I didn't really want to delay another video because in this one, we're checking out the latest watch to come from the family-run micro brand, the Swiss watch company. This is their HyperG Pilot watch, which I'm really stoked to get in hand. And I do think it's a really good affordable alternative to an IWC Mark series pilot watch. Now, if you have followed my channel for a little bit, you're probably aware that I've pretty much featured every single model that SWC has put out in the last few years. They're really good at collaborating with different YouTubers. They're also strong watch enthusiasts themselves, and they've either lent in watches for my channel to be reviewed, or I'll just straight up purchase them, like is the case for this HyperG. I did buy this watch with my own money when I pre-ordered it at the start of this year. And if you're not familiar with SWC, I'm going to link their website in the description section of this video. I do recommend you check them out. They do feature a lot of watches around or just below the $500 price point in US dollars. But this one comes in at just a little bit more than that, but you're getting some really cool features for the money. So why don't we flip the camera around now and you guys can actually check out this HyperG Pilot watch up close in the studio. So before getting hands-on with the HyperG Pilot watch, I briefly want to show you guys this cool travel watch pouch that you get when you pick up this timepiece from SWC. Very supple leather, button down for the closure, and when you open it up, your watch sits in the left-hand side of the big pouch. You have some smaller pouches for like straps and things. There's even a slide slot here. That's where the warranty card goes. They do give you an industry-leading 3 years of warranty for a small Swiss micro brand, which is kind of cool. And another nice thing they start doing now is they give you regulation cards. So SWC tends to regulate these watches to within COSC standards. Even though it's not a certified chronometer, it runs that way. Anecdotally, mine's losing about 1 second per day, which is pretty great for the price point. So now we have the HyperG in the hand here. I'm going to run through the dimensions really quickly and then go over some of the really cool specifications that kind of make it a very good alternative to an IWC Mark XVIII Le Petit Prince. That is their blue dial pilot watch with a similar case dimension, and it also has a similar base ETA or Solita movement that's housed inside this watch. So to my calipers, I do measure this at 40.5 millimeters across. Taking a look at the side profile, lug to lug is a 47.8 millimeters, and the case thickness is only 10.6 millimeters. That's from the bottom of the screw down case back here to the top of a sapphire crystal. Now this sapphire crystal carries 16 layers of anti-reflective treatment, mostly on the underside, but also some on the top side. It's pretty impressive when you consider that this is a bright sunburst dial that's very reflective, yet the legibility of this watch remains very high. You do have a 22 millimeter lug opening here for the supplied OEM leather strap. The strap has nice contrast stitch, and it does taper very well to about 20 millimeters before you get to the buckle. Now this buckle is also signed Swiss Watch Company, and it's very nicely brushed. It even has some polished bevels to it, which is kind of cool. And then on the underside, it's a genuine calf leather backing, I believe, and you also have the SWC logo that's embossed on the underside of this strap. So here's a quick in-studio wrist shot just to show you how well this pilot watch wears on a 7.5-inch wrist. That's 19 centimeters in circumference when you used the metric system. You can see it's quite thin in profile, and it's very comfortable to wear A lot of that is aided by the properties of this being a grade 5 titanium, which makes it extremely light. On this strap, this watch only weighs in at 56 grams, which is pretty crazy. Now, I was actually pleasantly surprised when I learned that this watch was made of grade 5 titanium, which is frequently used in the aeronautic industry because it is light and very strong material. But the way they were able to actually finish this pilot watch case was very impressive, considering titanium is fairly hard to polish. You have a nice high polished conical bezel here, and you also have nice polished bevels as you transition from the brushing on the hoods of the lugs and then to the side profile of the case here. You can see you even have a signed screw down crown with the SWC logo. And not only do you get the grade 5 titanium, which is very light, SWC uses a hardening treatment on the surface of this case to make it resistant up to 1000 Vickers. That's about 3.5 times harder than your standard 316L surgical stainless steel for a watch case. So I do think that this is a big value add because the titanium is very well finished, very light, and now also very scratch resistant. Now, another cool feature of this watch that you typically see reserved for high-end Swiss timepiece, and that's also done by IWC pilot watches, is they put a soft iron cage around the movement, and you can actually see that printed here where it says soft iron movement shell on the case back. And what that does is that it helps resist magnetic fields. Incoming magnetic fields will actually go around the soft iron cage there, and it will leave the inner workings of your movement alone. So this watch is very anti-magnetic, just like a true pilot watch should be. And because you do have the screw down case back and crown, you're also getting 100 meters of water resistance, which is very impressive considering that this is a pilot's watch. Now, if we move in on the dial, it's a very dynamic blue sunburst dial, very stark white printing for the hour markers, and at the very periphery they have a running minute track or a railroad style track there. So very good legibility, very good integration of the date wheel at the 6 o'clock position. I actually prefer this more than what you would find on the IWC Mark XVIII. It does keep the watch very symmetrical. And the pilot sword style hands themselves are diamond cut and rhodium plated. The seconds hand, very nice long seconds hand, and it reaches out to the very edge of that running a minute track there. So getting a quick read of time and orientation is very easy to do. SWC is known in the industry very well for being very generous in looming up the dials for their watches. This one is no exception. They topped this up with 22 layers of X1 grade Swiss Superluminova, the newer blue formulation. I will say that the lume is more potent on the hands themselves as opposed to the Arabic hour markers. And you can also see that the railroad style track at the cardinal positions where the hour markings are also lumed. Now, powering this watch is a Swiss automatic Sellita SW200, and I did already mention that it is regulated very well. In brief, you're getting a 26 joule movement, about a 40-hour power reserve. It is hacking, and you can hand wind the movement if you unscrew the screw down crown as well. Now, one of the small negatives, in my opinion, is the operation of this crown. I do find it very difficult to unthread. And winding it isn't too bad, and then setting it in different positions is okay as well. But trying to actually get the crown to catch the threads and re-screw it back down is very difficult to do in my opinion. Now, another thing about the crown, and this is pure personal preference, is I do wish that it was a little bit longer. The diameter of this crown is actually pretty good, coming in at 6.9 millimeters. But I don't even think the knurling on it is that good in my opinion. So this is something I hope they can improve in future iterations of the watch. And then if we're talking about things that I would like to see improved in the future, I gotta mention just the length of the lugs themselves. Now, I actually thought, hey, this would be cool if they had drilled lug holes here, so it would be really quick to swap out straps. And I wasn't sure why I initially thought that, but then I went back to the website And their press photos on the website actually shows this watch with drilled lugs. So it would actually be cool if the production models had drilled lugs. And also, I wish they were a little bit longer so you can get thicker straps through here or NATOs to pass through the spring bars a lot easier. Most pilot watches do have longer lug-to-lug lengths of at least 50 millimeters, but again, this is just personal preference. I will tell you that this watch is an absolute strap monster, and it's been a pleasure to wear so far. So that has been my overview of the Swiss watch company HyperG. I do see on the website that these are actually listed as coming soon, so maybe I got lucky by doing the pre-order at the start of the year. I do hope that they ramp up production of these watches. And at the end of the day, I do really think that this is a really strong alternative to an IWC Mark XVIII Le Petit Prince. And in some areas, I do think it's actually a little bit better. I do find the 6 o'clock date position better integrated on the dial of the watch. I really like that this is made from lightweight grade 5 titanium and it's very scratch resistant. And even the lume, I would argue, is a lot better. Although IWC, I do think, is updating their lume game, and the newly released Mark XX actually replaces the Salida or ETA-based movements with their own in-house movements. So I will say, if you do want an IWC, get an IWC, but if you want something that's not going to break the bank, that's well below the $1,000 price point, I would strongly consider picking up this SWC Pilot Watch. Now, as always, guys, I love to hear your thoughts on this watch in the comment section of this video. And if you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It does help out a lot. And as always, I can't wait to catch you guys in the next video.